we're bringing on Adam Belinsky. After a career as a TV reporter and then a corporate trainer, Adam graduated summa cum laude from a top 40 law school. He scored in the top 5% on the UBE on his first try and went on to be an assistant attorney general in American Samoa. Wow. He made it through law school with a wife and children, 3 kids, and he spends his free time outdoors and in sports whenever he can. So his family helps him stay sane and motivated as he does his life's work, which includes bringing Crescendo programs to us. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, Jennifer, thank you so much. And I've just got to say, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the previous discussion that Jennifer and I had about bar exam mindset, I definitely recommend that you go check that out. Jennifer Duclair is kind of a mindset mastermind in helping people get through the bar exam without freaking out too much. And so she helps people stay centered and balanced, and she's a professional bar exam mentor. And so, yeah, if you haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. But it's great being with you again, Jennifer. Really.
It is so nice. Thank you so much for that, Adam. So I want to get into this awesome set of programs that you offer. I was checking it out myself. I've been in there and it looks amazing. Please tell us, explain to everybody watching, what is Crescendo?
Whew, all right. So I'll try to explain it really quickly. One of the things that's tough about explaining Crescendo is it's got so many innovations to it. It's so different from other bar exam prep courses and other law school outlines that it's hard to know where to start sometimes. People go, how is this different? Well, it's different in a million ways. First off, it's loaded with mnemonics or memory hacks, and not just the traditional random acronyms that you sometimes get in other programs or from professors kind of sporadically, haphazardly, but they're very well thought out acronym or phrase-based mnemonics. And then we also use something called the method of Loki, memory palaces. And so that's where you visualize places and things that symbolize key concepts. And studies have shown that your spatial memory is super powerful. So that's, you walk into a room, you look around, you close your eyes, and you can kind of, I don't know about you, but I can kind of picture the room around me. I can see, okay, there's a shelf over there, there's this picture there, there's a clock there. And so our spatial memory can capture in a moment way more than we can capture just by reading words. And so we leverage the method of Loki. It's as old as the Socratic method, but way cooler is how I describe it. And so that's just one thing. And then we have very bite-sized audio outlines and audio flashcards. That's another thing that we do. Add on top of that optional classical background music to aid with the chunking, just putting things in the right buckets in your brain. So, you're listening to your torts outline, you're learning about negligence. And as you're there, you've got the negligence kind of theme song going if you want it. It's optional. People have different levels of sensory tolerance, and so we don't force it upon anyone. But a lot of folks find it helping, that it helps them be engaged, it gives them some rhythm. And the methodology that we strongly recommend is just wash, rinse, repeat over and over again. So you're listening to these audio tracks on repeat 7 to 10 times as they're being cemented, but you're not locked at a computer. You're not locked in a book. You're out getting groceries. You're sunbathing. You're hiking. You're going to the gym. And of course, you've got to spend time on a computer doing practice questions. And we offer those too. And like many great companies, we offer the same practice questions that the NCBE offers. And so, if you go to Adaptabar or BarMax or one of these other great companies, you're going to get the same practice questions that we get. And just like them, we believe you want to drink straight from the source. I mean, if you're taking the uniform bar exam, it makes sense to do practice questions written by those who write the uniform bar exam. And so we license those. So those are just a few things that are different. Wow. There's more.
Wow.
We give people lifetime access. 1Ls and 2Ls and 3Ls have found them to be helpful in bar-related classes and preparing for exams. And so the bar exam no longer has to be a sprint at the end. It can be more of a marathon that you use your bar prep materials throughout law school. Sets this awesome foundation. Folks have found that they do better on finals. with the foundation of Crescendo. It's not going to get you all the way. You still need to do reading. You still need to listen to your professor, right? And every professor is a little bit different, but still the heart of the law in any bar-related course is the same. And so this just gets you a strong foundation early in the semester. And then when you get to the bar prep season of your life where you're just intense in bar prep, all those mnemonics and things, they're familiar friends. And so you're just refreshing your recollection, you know, to use the legal term of art, and then you're ready to go. And so, yeah, those are just a few of the things. Price point's pretty good. Currently, I believe it's the most affordable comprehensive bar prep course you can get. You can also buy one-off outlines if you just want to test those. And then unlike most of our competitors anyways, there might be some that have money back guarantees, but we give people a 30-day window where they can try Crescendo. And if they don't like it for any reason at all, you know, they can ask for a refund. And we've been able to do that because so few people come back and ask for refunds, which is really great.
Yes.
It's stressful when it happens. We do have some people come back, and you know, sometimes it's because, well, I'm not taking the bar exam anymore, and we try not to take that personally. And then there's other times where, you know, people have just different learning methodologies, but thankfully we retain, we just actually reviewed this data recently. We've been retaining 99% of our customers.
Oh my.
So that means after 30 days, 99% of them are and they're not asking for their money back for whatever reason. And so that's a really, really good customer retention rate.
Number.
We're really grateful for that, and we hope to continue that, and actually we hope to shrink it even more through innovations that we have coming and ways to make the product even cooler. So
wow, there is.
Answer. Sorry, I just kind of monologued there, but and there's more I could talk about too, but let's see what your next question is before I just...
No, there's so much in there, and that's a really good recap on just, I guess, a broad overview of what is available, and to have that 30 days to get in there and look around and see if it applies to you. But it sounds like there's something for everyone in there, especially the audio learner who really leans on hearing it over and over again. It sounds like,
you know, when the company started, it was all about the audio, because on my own journey, I used audio a lot. I was a TV reporter, so I'm comfortable, you know, recording my voice and things like that. So I'd record my notes, make these audio outlines, and I'd listen to them and share them with my friends. I did this all throughout law school. They weren't very good. They were okay. I mean, they obviously helped, but they're nowhere near as good as the Crescendo audio outlines are now. But, you know, we started with that audio emphasis, but then we had folks who came in and said, look, I like the audio, but I wish there was a little bit more visual. And so we hired illustrators, and we got illustrations. And so we have very, you know, visual, just illustration packed written outlines that go along with our audio outlines. And so we're trying to appeal to any type of learner now. You don't have to be an auditory learner. And so we have had some folks that actually say they don't use the audio at all. They just use the visual component, and they find that to be very helpful. And so we're trying to help people wherever they are on the audio visual, you know, learning spectrum.
This is really good. And I love the component where a person starts earlier rather than later and gives their brain time to really assimilate the information for long-term memory that they're going to need on the actual bar exam.
And it's critical because with mnemonics, you're getting more metadata, right? And if you try to memorize hundreds of mnemonics overnight, it's going to just be paralyzing. We would not recommend that to anyone. But mnemonics are more of a long-term investment, right? They take a little bit more time to digest up front and go, okay, wait, what are the pieces here? But then your long-term retention is so much stronger. And so you pay the price early on, and then you've got those mnemonic friends in your mind for the rest of your life. And so yeah, we do feel it's critical, you know, for folks to start prepping for the bar early, but you don't even have to think of it as prepping for the bar, right? Because people are like, the last thing I want to do right now as a 1L is think about preparing for the bar. Don't think about it like that. Think about, I want to crush my finals. And if you talk to anyone who has taken the bar exam and studied for the bar, they will tell you, I wish that I had prepared for the bar earlier, because now I get it. And I would do so much better on my law school finals if I had just done this earlier. And so don't think of it as bar prep. Just think of it as a 1L, 2L, 3L study aid in law school. Think of it as a sneak peek maybe, but don't stress about the bar. Just stress about your classes and use it as a tool. And then when bar prep season comes around, you'll be a lot more prepared.
So this whole program is a lifetime value for the entire like front end of a person's legal career. From the minute they decide to go to law school, they can get into this, and that program's investment is spread out essentially. Like it's return on investment
and
for
we
the
believe,
whole first 4 years.
yeah, and we believe in helping people even after the bar. So say you're doing solo practice, small practice, you take a wide variety of cases, you take the bar exam, 2 years pass, and you've got a client that walks into your door with a family law issue, and you haven't done any family law cases the last couple of years. What better way to quickly get up to speed, at least in terms of the basics, right? Than go to the gym, listen for 1 hour and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember. And you're getting the new updated family law outlines, right? And so you go listen to those, and then you sit in with your client. You can sound a little bit more competent. And then of course you're going to do the specific research based on your state law and everything, but you're going to have, you know, a basic understanding and a basic level of competence that any client would expect. And so we're hoping, you know, we can reboot that recollection anytime after the bar exam. And we're hoping we can help anyone become, you know, better students, better bar prep, better bar preppers, and then better attorneys. That's our goal. And our vision's to become the best and most affordable bar prep company. And we won't stop till we've convinced the world of that. We believe that we're there, but you know, there's so many bar prep companies, there's so much noise that we're still working. You know, most people haven't even heard of Crescendo at this point. And one of the complaints that we've gotten is folks that are preparing for the bar exam and using a more traditional course that costs thousands of dollars, will say, why didn't I hear about this earlier? Like, this is so much more helpful and it's so much more affordable. Like, I'm just so upset. Like, I feel like I've been ripped off. And we don't want that to happen. We want people to learn about Crescendo early enough that they can give it a try, you know, at their leisure as a 1L or 2L, and then come back and really enjoy the bar prep experience.
Yes, this is true. This is the onus on us as business owners, is to actually get the word out about
right. It's half of the battle, right? You can make the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it. And so
right. So you gave us a little bit about how Crescendo got started. It sounds like it was something utilitarian that you decided, oh my goodness, this is helping everybody. Tell us more about this path that you've been taking and how Crescendo has grown now.
Yeah. So first, let's just focus on the genesis. So I was in law school myself, you know, a law student not too long ago. I'm a millennial trying to make a product for millennials and even, you know, folks that are younger than millennials, right? And so I feel like I understand that market based on my own experience. And I have kids. I had actually my third kid was born during law school. And I worked, aside from the first 2 semesters, I had multiple jobs all through law school to try to provide for my family, you know, and so add on top of that, you know, being on a couple journals like Law Review, add on top of that, I actually taught Swedish 1 semester just for fun at the university, just because I just love teaching so much. Anyway, so there's all these balls in the air, right? Like I'm just like trying to juggle all these things and not go insane. I still want to do well academically, but to be honest, with the exception of 1 little season where I took life a little bit too seriously during law school and actually negatively impacted my grades, I was comfortable with just kind of letting the chips fall where they fall. Basically, I'm going to do my reasonable best, but whatever happens, happens. And as you mentioned, you know, I ended up doing really well in law school, and I credit the audio approach a lot. And I also just credit keeping kind of that sane mindset of just accepting I'm surrounded by competent, wonderful people. And if on these subjective exams, they happen to outperform me, I'm not going to allow that to reflect on my self-worth. And getting to that space really helped me on exams to not be so anxious. And then the other thing that really helped me not be so anxious is going to the gym, hiking, shooting hoops all day before an exam, listening to these audio outlines. And so your blood's pumping, your adrenaline's going. I remember thinking these distinct thoughts on a few occasions. You know, I might not actually do really well on this exam, but like I've gotten more in shape. I feel better about myself. Like this is time well spent, if that makes sense. So I remember thinking kind of those positive thoughts, and that was a very liberating place to be, but it's because I had all these endorphins going through me and I felt good. Like I got in the best shape that I've ever been in my life. And, you know, I've been an athlete throughout most of my life and coaching and things like that. And so I love athletics, but to be able to go, like before my torts exam, I spent all day just shooting hoops, 8 hours straight, listening to my sloppy, custom personal audio outlines, right? And I remember I'm a terrible basketball player, but I was able to get like a bunch of free throws in a row. And by the end of the day, it's like I'm shooting like 80-90% free throws. And,
Wow.
and that was just fun. And so when I walked into the torts final, it's like, well, my torts prep experience gave me the ability to shoot free throws. So that's and then I ended up, getting a 4.0 in that class. But it was because everything in my outline, even though I don't have a photographic memory or anything like that, I feel like I've got a pretty average memory. And if you ask my wife, I've got a much below average memory. If you ask her, and the way we explain it is I've got like the memory, like the short-term memory, and I can remember a little bit for a little bit, and she's got the hard drive and the long-term memory. But in any case, I could recall verbatim my audio, just from listening to it for that day. And that was really liberating. And I was listening, and I was listening kind of intently, but I was also doing these other things that were engaging my body. And what's interesting is if I go play basketball, if I put myself back in that space, right, I feel like I can remember those doctrines a little better. And so something that I've actually recommended to bar preppers is, or exam, preppers, right, is maybe do a different, mostly mindless activity for different subjects. So, maybe for property law, you go play golf. Maybe for torts, you go hiking. Maybe you crochet, or you art, or you do, and so you kind of pick different activities for different subjects to further aid in putting it in the right buckets in your brain.
Wow.
Anyway, so it worked really well for me, and I did have friends that wanted to use the outlines. And then after I graduated, I still had people asking for my old kind of crummy outlines, and so that's when I realized, that there might be a market for this kind of thing, that it might not just be me that could benefit. And so I actually spent some significant time researching memorization techniques and methodologies and best practices in pedagogy. Because, when you create something for yourself, it's fairly memorable, right? Like you remember what you put in, you remember what you took out, you remember how you paraphrase things, you created it. And the creation process is so helpful for memorization. And so if you ask anybody, they'll always say, if you got the time, create your own outlines.
Right.
But sometimes we don't have the time or the ability to sit down and really focus that intensely for prolonged periods of time because of all the distractions going on in our lives. So we turn to commercial products, right? And so the question that I was trying to answer was, how can I make a commercial product that feels like you're co-creating, like you're creating with the audio through the visualization, right? Through the mnemonics and things, you're engaging your brain a lot more differently than if you're just reading fine print.
Yes.
And so that's our goal. We want people after a few times listening through to feel like they own the outlines, like to feel like they, could have written it themselves because they know them front to back so well. And so that's our goal. And that's a little bit about the genesis company.
That is perfect. So how is Crescendo doing now? You mentioned your near perfect retention rate.
Yeah, not near. I mean, it's close, 98%, but we will have 100. Really would. I mean, anytime we have somebody drop off the rails, we go, okay, what can we possibly do to make everybody have a wonderful experience? And we've been really fortunate to have very gracious students in terms of reviews. Folks that have given us feedback along the way, like the product is so much better now than when I started it. You can't start with perfection. You got to start somewhere. When we started, we didn't have actually audio flashcards at all. We had our audio outlines and they were concise. And then we had some summary audio, but we didn't actually do the questions. But then a student said, hey, it would be kind of cool, like if it quizzed us. And we said, yeah, that's a great idea. And then we had somebody else that wanted pictures. And so we put in pictures, and then somebody else wanted visual flashcards. So we created those. And so the product is constantly evolving thanks to input from actual exam preppers. And we will continue to take that input super seriously. We're trying to finish up both an Android and iOS app. Our stuff you can access on mobile devices. You can access on your computer just fine if you've got an internet connection. But then when you go offline, you deal with zip files full of MP3s. And for the rising generation, you know, the young tech savvy folks, that's easy, no problem. And we have guides that walk people through the steps if they're unfamiliar with how to do that. But it's pretty straightforward. But then we have, you know, we actually have found that a lot of 40, 50-year-olds and beyond will buy our product. And some of them are not as tech savvy. And you know, they'll admit that. And it'll take a little bit more time, and it can be a little bit more frustrating, right, to deal with these zip files. But with an app, you'd be able to just use it offline more readily by selecting which courses you want available offline. And anyway, so we're working on that, and we totally appreciate, you know, the need and the value of having something like that. We're also working on revamping, structuring a little bit more. We've done some experimentation, and I don't want to give it all away just because competitors might be watching, but we have some really good ideas that we've done some beta testing with some of our users, and they found it to make the product even cooler. And so we're really excited about that, but it will take some time to make it apply across the board. So we're constantly trying to improve the product. And we're so grateful for the great reviews that we've received so far. And they motivate us. Our team is still pretty small. You know, our overhead's pretty small. It's one of the things that we've tried to maintain to be able to keep the product as affordable as it is. But the team's grown. Right now we've got 9 employees, and we've got one thing we do that's actually saved us a lot of money is we don't have any professors as employees. We hire them as independent contractors. And so we find experts that will review our outlines and make sure, you know, that we didn't get too creative. But we write the outlines all in-house, and then we go to these professors and we have them redline our outlines and give us feedback. And so they're reviewed by experts, but they're not on our payroll. And so that saves us significant money. You know, if you go to other courses, you'll have different professors teaching different subjects, right? And they'll, I got to imagine that time, that commitment is expensive. And then you also have professors writing, for the most part, the outlines, as I understand it. What we do is we create those all in-house based on, you know, best practices, teaching principles. We think of ourselves as kind of experts in instructional design, but we're not necessarily experts in the subject matter. So we create the content, and we make sure it's accurate by going to those experts. And so by compartmentalizing that process, we've saved a lot of money, and that's allowed us to keep our costs low.
It passes on to the customer.
Yeah, and then full disclosure, if you do get Crescendo's audio outlines, 99% of them at this point are my voice, for better or for worse. That saved me some money. And, you know, I used to be a TV reporter, but I'm just, you know, I'm a white guy voice, right? And, you know, and I apologize for that. We have nothing against women. If I was a woman founder, then they'd all be woman voices, you know. And so we've toyed with the idea of hiring voiceover artists, and at some point we might. It will make the cost of the product go up likely. And the feedback we've gotten from students is that at least my voice is semi-tolerable. And so I haven't gotten hate mail yet about it, you know, so they're surviving. And so it's not high on the totem pole of priorities, but it is something we think about. But anyway, like so that's a little bit about kind of the lay of the land right now, and kind of the future, and where our sites are set. And so
it sounds like a lot of good things are coming down the pike with Crescendo, and lots of creativity there. Let me ask you, what's the most personally fulfilling thing that you have in this family of programs?
Ooh, that's a really good question. You know, there've been a lot of things that have been fulfilling and also challenging. Starting a company is crazy. You know, it's insane, right? There's so much that goes into it. I've really enjoyed the people I get to work with. I've been really fortunate with the employees that we've hired, and just been able to find a lot of really talented people, and that's been really fun. But in terms of the product, you know, I was creating it. It's hard to kind of put yourself in the place of other people and understand where they're coming from. You know, we try by getting proximate to people to understand other people, their life situations. But for the most part, we kind of think how we think through things and how we experience life is how other people experience it. You know, we kind of simplify that way, and I certainly do that. And so I was thinking, I'm going to make this product and it's going to help people like me. And I didn't really think about how it might help people who are less like me. For example, some folks have different types of learning disabilities. And, for whatever reason, sometimes people are blessed with not having learning disabilities and other people do. And the spectrum of learning disabilities, is various. Sometimes people can have really intense hurdles that way. And so in the law in particular, there's a lot of reading, right? There's a lot of, and in any traditional bar prep course, there's going to be a lot of that. And so folks with dyslexia can really struggle. And I got an email not too long ago from one of our students who's using Crescendo with dyslexia, and they just commented on how much of a lifesaver it was. Like, it was profoundly life-changing for them to experience Crescendo, and they just expressed a lot of gratitude. And for me, that just opened my eyes to just the difference that this is making. Like, I don't know if I'll ever become super wealthy off Crescendo or anything like that. I certainly haven't yet. We keep costs low, and we're constantly investing in product improvement. And so, I'm not like making bank and running away with lots of money. But for me, just changing how prep is happening and kind of liberating the academic captive in some ways, right, is very, very meaningful and fulfilling. And so to know, if nothing else, like if Crescendo goes bust tomorrow, I'm not expecting it will, but if it did, right, who knows, anything could happen, right? Life's crazy, and there's so much beyond our control. But if something crazy happened and Crescendo just exploded, I would still feel grateful, for the opportunity that I've had to put this product out there and to impact lives, and to go, look, that student at least, got a ray of hope and got a new tool that really helped them. And here are these other students too. And so I try to remind myself of, those nice notes we get, and try to focus on them and use them as the motivation, rather than just trying to pinch pennies and get like the most money we can out of people. I believe far and wide the bar prep space is overpriced, and unnecessarily overpriced. And so I think there is plenty of space for products that are reasonably priced. And that is kind of a challenge though, because sometimes people, especially attorney-minded people who are kind of at the end of their education, they'll look at a product and they'll go, okay, I can spend $3,000 and really invest in my bar prep with X company, or I could spend $800 and roll the dice with some new company. It's like $800. Like, can it really be that good? And so we have to overcome kind of that hurdle of initial misconception that pricing equals value. We invite people to look at reviews, try it for 30 days, and to determine the value for experience rather than by a price tag. If we wanted to, we could, up the price to $1,500, $2,000 overnight. If that makes people more likely to buy us, I mean, that makes sense finanually. It's kind of psychotic to think that actually might be more likely to buy us.
Well,
but that's kind of how we're operating with so much fear that, but we're not going to do that.
Yes, there's something to be said for creating something for everyone, and everybody has their mindset hurdles to get past so that they can allow themselves to get the help that they need. And speaking of mindset, what's your opinion? As you know, I work with mindset on the bar exam. What are your thoughts about mindset when it comes to bar preparation, especially with the clients that you've worked with through Crescendo?
Yeah, I mean, mindset is vital, right? It's so critical. And for me, that's why the audio can be so effective. Even if the audio doesn't have mnemonics, even if it doesn't have optional classical music, even if it doesn't have flashcards, right? If it was just straight up audio and got you into the gym and you could listen to it and engage with it, you're still going to have, I think, generally a more positive experience than just sitting at the computer, because of what it does for your mindset, how it mitigates that test anxiety, and how it, gets those endorphins pumping and everything. And so it's really valuable to get out and about. There's a lot of ways you can stay balanced. Certainly Crescendo can help, but we strongly recommend anyone preparing for the bar exam go beyond just using audio and do other things to help with their mindset. You know, maybe get a mindset coach, maybe maybe do meditation or prayer, or maybe, you know, spend time with family and friends. You know,
How about that?
you can. You don't need to be completely tunnel visioned on bar prep. And if you are, I actually believe you'll perform more weekly on the bar exam, because when your life is in balance, when you're happy, when you're positive, you're bound to outperform your negative, cynical, pessimistic, burnt out self. And so the law of diminishing returns applies in studying as well as economics. And, you know, so do service, have an outward mindset, right? Don't be so inward, me. That's just a crippling, soul-sucking way to live, period. It's not fun at all, and it will actually be to your detriment on the bar exam.
Exactly. And that is such a great piece of wisdom, Adam, to just balance yourself out. And the products that you have through Crescendo makes it easy for the exam taker to keep that balance.
Easier anyways. I don't know if it will ever get to a place where we can say the bar prep is easy, right? You know, there's just so much to memorize, right? There's so much to keep straight. It's complicated doing legal analysis, but we're certainly trying to make it easier. So
yes,
you're absolutely right.
Towards that. Thank you so much, Adam, for sharing this information about Crescendo and all its benefits to exam takers, 1L all the way through bar exam prep. This is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes. So is there any way that people listening can find out more about you and Crescendo and get into your products if they like?
Yeah, you know, I actually didn't think through this in advance, but probably the easiest thing to do, and I should have thought through this in advance. I've just been crazy busy the last little bit. But if you email sales@crescendo.com, if you've never used Crescendo before, and you're watching this video and you want to try one of our audio subjects for free, so like property law, business associations, secure transactions, trust, whatever, we can give you lifetime access to that one subject. So, you know,
wow, that's
no
a great
cost,
deal.
nothing. You can just try it out. So it's a $37 value. That's what we sell our individual topics for, and you can just try it out and hopefully get addicted, and then come back and we'll get all your money. You know, all $700.
All right,
it's a lot of money. I'm not, you know, but it's not a lot compared to the competitor companies.
Awesome.
That's why I joke about it.
Know where to go to find you. This is great. Thank you so much for this.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Bye.
All right.